Janani Jivana. If anybody would like Janani Jivana to come back and do kirtan or for Bhagavad Shravanam and also give Bhagavad Shravanam class, say Haribol! Yes. She's like, I'm here all the time. She helped dress the deities this morning with her husband, Kulapriti Prabhu, so they've been here all morning. So thank you all so much for being here for Bhagavad Shravanam. We're so grateful to see everyone. We have, since it's the day after Rath Yatra, we have both regulars who come to this program every week or a lot of weeks, and also I'm seeing some visiting faces. So thank you to each and every single one of you. And we have a very, 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 very special guest speaker today. His Holiness Candramauli Maharaj. His Holiness Candramauli Maharaj. Let's welcome him to Bhakti Center by raising our arms and loudly chanting 3 times. Haribol! 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 If you don't know him, you should get to know him. He's actually like a what's it called? The New York City tri-state area local. He was born in New Jersey. all the New Jersey people said Haribol. And he came in contact with Krishna consciousness actually in Denver, Colorado, at the age of 24. He began practicing, and then he began practicing Krishna consciousness in New York City, and then shortly after that, lived in New Vrindavan in West Virginia for many, many years, serving there. And that same year, when he went to New Vrindavan, he received initiation from Prabhupada. And in 1986, His Holiness Candramauli Maharaj he accepted the sannyas order and began preaching in Cincinnati and Columbus, Ohio. And then in the early 1980s, he became involved with the ISKCON prison ministry, which is a super inspiring ministry where you take Krishna consciousness into the jails and preach to the inmates there. And many, many of them have become devotees because of Maharaj. And so he was holding programs in jails, regularly writing letters to inmates and sending them Srila Prabhupada's books. He's now the leader of the ISKCON prison ministry and has worked tirelessly to document the spiritual progression of the inmate community, which is worldwide. And he has a book actually called Holy Jail, which can tell you all about this project. 2 books. Holy Jail, and what's the second one, Maharaj?
Forbidden Voices.
Forbidden Voices. So both of those books, are those books available online?
Yeah.
Online. Those books are available online. So yes, and if you have more questions about that, you can see us afterwards. And in 1995, he began serving as the resident sannyasi in Chicago until 2013, when he relocated to Karlovac, Croatia. And at present, he travels all around the world, Europe, USA, India, giving spiritual nourishment, spiritual guidance, and compassion and love to so many people. And he's an initiating spiritual master as well. So we're just so fortunate to have him here. He also has another book which he will tell us about that we will also be selling after the class. So please come, Maharaj. Thank you so much for being with us today.
I can't live up to that introduction. It's like beyond me. So in order to, same time I'll just do one of the charanas and Charanamaya. Om Gyan Timidandasya Girajana Sarakaya Chaksurajungaditamiya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Puchamine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasyatya Deshikarine Manchakalpa Turuvescha Kripa Sindhu Vedacha Nidanam Bhave Yo Vaishnave Yo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So what I'm going to speak about, I think the title was given the last part of Srila Prabhupada's mission of establishing Krishna consciousness around the world, which is, as Srila Prabhupada said, is the unfulfilled part of my mission just before he departed in 1977. Speak a little bit about the background which led up to Srila Prabhupada establishing the ISKCON Society, and it goes back to actually the 1940s, when Srila Prabhupada penned a very lengthy article called the Gita Nagari Concept. In that Gita Nagari Concept, Prabhupada outlined 4 major points that he would later develop as the establishment of the foundation for the execution of our entire Krishna consciousness movement. And in that Gita Nagari Concept, Prabhupada patterned Gandhi. He wrote this article, and he delivered the article to the Deputy Prime Minister at that time in India named Sadar, hoping that it would get some publicity and also some support. Prabhupada's idea was similar to what he said was Gandhi's principle for the development of the villages in India. And not only the villages, but Gandhi's personal life also. What he was as a person, along with what he tried to establish for the foundation for building the village community in India. And the 4 points were, of course, we'll take a moment of time, and that was that Gandhi, Gandhi was known as a politician among the saints and a saint among the politicians. His profile was seen differently by different people according to the environment or to the people he associated with. But on a personal level, Prabhupada said he was very, regular in his worship of the Supreme Lord. Every day he would read Bhagavata Gita and also do his practice, his daily sadhana, which was to read from the scriptures and also to worship the deity, even wherever he was traveling. So Prabhupada saw that as a foundation for really establishing our Krishna consciousness movement. And the first principle that Prabhupada established based on that article he wrote and also on the life of Gandhi was to spread the holy name around. Because he considered that Gandhi was very prayerful, although he was very active both in politics and other areas. Still, he was very dutiful to his personal spiritual development. So Prabhupada called that holy names. And of course, it comes from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada's first part of his mission was, you can see it in the old Back to Godhead magazines, practically everything was centered around Harinam. Of course, Tompkins Square Park is the foundation by which the whole thing actually exploded from here. And from place to place, Prabhupada established Harinam Sankirtan everywhere. And we became famous for that, except in India. He didn't do it in India because he was thinking that in India they would simply see us as beggars. Going out in the street, people who don't have a place to live or are poor, they're out there singing, trying to make some money in order to get something. So Prabhupada felt that the Indian nation culture would not understand, although it's foundational to their practice, that what we were trying to do. So he established that everywhere else in the world. And then, of course, that second half of this first part was holy books. So Prabhupada's first part was holy books, holy names, simultaneously, starting with the holy names. How did the books actually become a part of our development? It was an accident, an apparent accident. In the old days, Prabhupada was still doing the Back to Godhead magazines. And so there were publications that were coming out regularly. Prabhupada was distributing them through his devotees. And we would go on the streets, and for those of you who go way back to those days, 25 cents was quite expensive for a magazine. 10 cents, we would even accept 10 cents. If you had a nickel, why not? In other words, and we would give out 2 sticks of incense. That was my first experience in meeting the devotees in 1970. The anti-war rally in Washington, D.C. I got approached by a girl, devotee. She gave me 2 sticks of incense and a pamphlet that I didn't understand anything about. Who is Krishna? Or who is crazy? And Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in those days, it was just some articles in the Back to Godhead magazines and that were formulated as a way to distribute Krishna consciousness. Then what happened in 1970, Prabhupada finished the Krishna book. Prabhupada was so excited. Now the 10th canto was coming out because Prabhupada felt that I may not be around to give the devotees the essence of the Bhagavata, which was Krishna's pastimes in the 10th canto. Prabhupada did this summary study of the 10th canto, which he called Krishna book. And when the book came out, Prabhupada was actually giving a lecture at the time when the book was released. The devotees knew how much Prabhupada was waiting for that book. So they came right to Prabhupada during the lecture and brought him the books. They had one box with 10 copies. Prabhupada immediately turned his attention towards the book and started to hold it up and show it. And he sold them right on the spot all day. During the lecture, didn't even keep one for himself. A little later on, one devotee was traveling, and they pulled into a gas station to get some gas. And when it came time to make the payment, the gas station attendant came, they had no money. And so they were in a little bit of an embarrassing situation. So the devotee, his name was Premarnu, and he had a Krishna book with him. So he said, "Can you take this in exchange for the gas?" And the man said, "Yeah." And then later on that story was related that we could actually give out books on the street. And that became the inspiration for distributing books. And later as Prabhupada was translating Bhagavad Gita and teachings of Lord Chaitanya and nectar devotion. And the devotees felt, now we have a way to... And when Prabhupada first started the movement, when he wanted to distribute books, what did he do? In New York City, he went to bookstores. He would carry his books to bookstores and ask them to put the books in the stores. And then he wouldn't even ask for money. He would say, if you sell something, you can give me it. But everybody would say, mostly everybody would say, people are not interested in these spiritual books. So they would reject it. Once in a while, somebody would take it. So that didn't seem like a practical way or a viable way to get Prabhupada's books out. So then the idea of on the street center started. But Prabhupada built the movement on that, and then the money started to come in sales. And Prabhupada's the second and third parts of the movement that Prabhupada developed as foundation was education. education to teach the principles of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and a lifestyle that centers around the devotion to Krishna as the foundation for education, using Srila Prabhupada's books, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada, of course, was giving classes regularly wherever he was going, and also talking always about Krishna consciousness. And gradually, devotees became more and more aware of the philosophy and the lifestyle, and started to practice it very seriously. So that was also in line with his Gita Nagari concept, where Gandhi said that people who are below the varnashram system, such as gave descriptions of people called the bhangis and the charmers, those who are not allowed to worship or even to participate in the same social environment as the rest of society, they can be automatically given that because they are Harijan, and he started the Harijan movement, which was to, more or less, to use a cliche, rubber stamp people according to the idea that now they are qualified, just because they are parts and parcels of Krishna. In other words, because they're spiritual beings. And Prabhupada saw that was incomplete. His idea was to qualify people in order to come up to the standards of the whole system of education. And that became the idea of initiation into the society. So, of course, education, evaluation, service, and qualifications, and then being required or acquiring the qualifications in order to accept, Diksha initiation. So that was the second part, is to educate, uplift, engage, and then eventually bring people into the body of the mother body of society by giving them education and initiation. That was part two. That was the same, he took that also from Gandhi. And the third principle, which was temple worship. Temple worship. And Srila Prabhupada, as the money was coming in, Prabhupada wanted to establish temples everywhere. And gradually temples were opening everywhere, one after another. First in the US, Canada, and then of course in Europe, and of course London, many other places. And then after some time, Prabhupada went back to India to do the same thing. The Krishna Balaram temple, the temple in Radharasa Vihari temple, Mayapur. The Prabhupada's third part of his mission was to establish temple worship all around the world. Not just simple temple worship, but Radha Krishna deities, which was way beyond our ability to even come up to the standard of understanding how to worship the Supreme Personality of God in his most perfect form of Radha Krishna. But Prabhupada was patient, and he educated us, and then of course he was establishing. And that was also the third part of Gandhi's movement, was to take the temples in India that had fallen down to a lower standard. Prabhupada writes about this in the Gita Nagari concept. He said they had become dungeons for demons, where these different Sahajiya groups were coming into the temples and doing, as he said, their demoniac dance. And Gandhi was also concerned at that time that the temples had fallen way below. So he made an effort to try to use his political position to upraise or get the support of the government, take charge in bringing the temples back. But ultimately it was a failure. So Prabhupada understood how important it was for temple worship. He said, when I came to the United States, he said, I could have simply sat under a tree and chanted Hare Krishna, but who wouldn't come? And nobody would come. Or maybe a few really hardcore. But Prabhupada knew the importance of the Pancharatripi aspect of the devotional lifestyle to establish in a very simplified way deity worship. So that these were the three main points that Prabhupada focused on. Education, and eventually bringing people to the point where they can become devotees of the Lord and engage in devotional service, and also developing the qualities of Brahman, Brahminical qualities. Temple worship, Gaurnitai, Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, Radha Krishna. Prabhupada really, really went beyond our ability in terms of establishing, but he was very patient in trying to actually educate us at the same time. Because he saw the importance, and he saw that people would come simply to visit our temples, to see the deities, to offer something to the Lord, to take darshan. And this would be a great opportunity for us to expand the whole Krishna consciousness movement. So with these 3 points, Prabhupada really established his movement. But the last part, which he talked about from the very beginning, which was a lifestyle. And when Prabhupada came in 1966, he penned these 7 purposes of the ISKCON movement. And I pretty much illustrated some of them in those 3 points. But one of them, which was number 6, he said to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a more simple and more natural way of life. So in 1977, he spoke really many times about the importance of developing Varnashram. And he said our Varnashram system, that means educating people according to their Swadharma, and bringing that Swadharma into Krishna consciousness as Daivi Varnashram, which means spiritual, and working according to one's propensity and serving the Lord accordingly. And then, of course, he outlined the 4 principles: Brahminical qualities, those who have Kshatriya tendencies, those who are more inclined to commerce, banking, and farming, and of course, the Sudras, which didn't need education, but just needed engagement in devotional activities. And said, now Prabhupada wanted to, in order to do that, he wanted to establish what's called Varnashram College. And the Varnashram College system worked in such a way is that after establishing a Brahminical culture, Prabhupada asked the Brahmins, who were leaders within the society, to educate the rest of the devotees accordingly in the systematic type of education where they could bring out these different qualifications that people had that were actually lying dormant. We're actually doing that now, but not in an organized way. But Prabhupada wanted to do it in an organized way. And that way the whole social foundation to our spiritual practice would be solidified in a way that everyone could find a place in Krishna consciousness, serve nicely according to their propensity, and also gain the education needed to do that, and contribute to worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ultimately devotional service. So when Prabhupada left the world, just before he left, he said 50% of my mission is incomplete. Now, in 1974, he started to speak about this in a more direct way. But it wasn't until later that he actually made it a point. When, at one point, Prabhupada was seeing that devotees were coming, joining our movement, getting engaged in Krishna consciousness, but they were falling down. And he said, if chanting Hare Krishna is so easy, why are so many people falling down? He said, now we have to establish this Varnashram, to engage people according to their nature and bring out this nature in a systematic way through education, guided by Brahminical by persons who were in the leadership position. So, but it never really manifested in a real way, although there was some attempt. But Prabhupada did say, it can only be done on our farms. He said, therefore we have to establish these farm communities in order to bring about the culture of Bhagavata. And Prabhupada had a lot of faith in that particularly. He said, by establishing these farms, we will have something solid to give, not only to the devotees, but to the world in general, a lifestyle which is based on the lifestyle which is the foundation for Vedic culture and spiritual practice. So I'll read one particular verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is one of many verses of the same subject, and this is from the first canto, chapter number 8, verse number 40. This is prayers by Kunti. And she says, all these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance, the trees are full of fruit, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans full of wealth. And then she ends by saying, and this is all due to your glancing over them. So now then, Prabhupada's purport. Human prosperity flourishes by natural gifts and not by gigantic industrial enterprises. The gigantic industrial enterprises are products of a godless civilization. They cause the destruction of the noble aims of human life. The more we go on increasing such troublesome industries to squeeze out the vital energy of the human being, the more there will be unrest and dissatisfaction of the people in general, although a few only can live lavishly by exploitation. The natural gifts such as grains, vegetables, fruits, rivers, hills of jewels and minerals, and the seas full of pearls are supplied by the order of the Supreme. And as he desires, material nature produces them in abundance or restricts them at times. The natural laws that human beings may take advantage of these godly gifts by nature and satisfactorily flourish on them without being captivated by the exploited motive of lording it over material nature. The more we attempt to exploit material nature according to our whims of enjoyment, the more we shall become entrapped by the reactions of such exploitative attempts. If we have sufficient grains, fruits, vegetables, herbs, then what is the necessity of running slaughterhouses and killing poor animals? A man need not kill an animal if he has sufficient grains and vegetables to eat. The flow of river waters fertilizes the fields, and the more is there is more than what we need. Minerals are produced in the hills and the jewels in the ocean. If the human civilization has sufficient grains, minerals, jewels, water, milk, etc., then why should we hanker after terrible industrial enterprises at the cost of labor of some unfortunate men? All these natural gifts are dependent on the mercy of the Lord. What we need, therefore, is to be obedient to the laws of nature and achieve the perfection of human life by devotional service. The indication by Kunti Devi are just to the point. She desires that God's mercy be bestowed upon them so that the natural prosperity be maintained by His grace. So here Prabhupada is outlining more or less the basic principle of his fourth part of the mission, is to live in an environment where we're not dependent on all of the, the industrial and technological arrangements that society has in order to squeeze out the vital energy of human beings and at the expense of most people and the few people being because of economic adventures. And then to go into the quality of that lifestyle as opposed to what we are experience now is a whole different thing. Here we are in New York City. Whereas the Prabhupada would say, it's 50 years ahead in Kali Yuga. We go, and the rest of the world is trying to catch up in New York. So it is a place that you can see is simply based on economic development and sense gratification. The quality of life is just destroyed. And people have more or less focusing simply on economic gain as success in life. And that's how society more or less values things. The more you have materially, the more you are considered to be successful. But that's a false sense of actually what really makes a person is their character, and not so much how much you have or how much you or whatever you are doing. It's the character. And then in order for that to develop nicely, along with the practice of Krishna consciousness, as Srila Prabhupada said, we need an environment to stabilize the lifestyle of the devotees in such a way that they can live free from all of the encumbrances that come by way of the demands of modern Western metropolis, you might say. And so Prabhupada pushed it. And then, of course, his first adventure was in the Vrindavan community in Candramauli. In 1977, when Srila Prabhupada was undergoing some difficulty with his health, and it looked like he wouldn't be staying very long, Prabhupada got a resurgence. Srila Prabhupada got a resurgence of health in September of that same year. And he decided, he said, now I'm going to establish this Bhagavata. And so he left India, flew to London, and he stayed there for a while and did some preaching, but his health actually failed. He was on his way to Candramauli. He said, I'm going to show you personally how to work the land and how to live in a more simplified and natural environment. And Prabhupada explained in many of his lectures and also in his books, he said, do 4 things. He said, grow your own food, make your own cloth. You can grow silk, you can grow cotton. And then from there, make cloth. The third thing he said, learn herbs. And he said all of the medicines that, and all of the cures for all the disease are in nature. And along with it, the vitality that the human being needs is also provided by nature. Well, what we do, we work hard, we get something called paper, not money, right? It's got somebody's picture on it, and it's got numbers alongside of it. And we consider that wealth, but that's not wealth. That's just the government's idea of how to live in this way. And if the government fails, the paper is what it is, paper. That's all it is. It's an artificial form of thinking that one is. And then for Prabhupada, he said the whole Western world, and also, of course, now India also, is living on this false foundation of money. Money is what is that other word? Honey? Wherever there's honey, there's bees. But that's not real wealth. Real wealth is land, cows, precious metals. That's actually real wealth. These things are foundational and not dependent on anything external. They are gifts coming from God. It's interesting. How do jewels, gems, pearls, and many other things actually come to this earth? They come by rain. There's a particular constellation that's called Swati. And when that Swati constellation is in in the heavens. If it rains at that time, the rain falls on the head of a snake, it becomes jewels. If it falls on the head of an elephant, it becomes gems. And if it falls in the ocean, it becomes pearls and taken by oysters. So by rains, a lot of the precious metals, not all of it, but some of them are coming simply by God's arrangement through nature. And so that is actually wealth, not this commodity. Material commodities are just supportive of the false lifestyle that we're accepting in order to live in this world. But the foundation is, as Prabhupada mentions in the Srimad Bhagavatam later on, three things make up a wholesome human civilization. God consciousness, worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in a very orderly and systematic way given by this following scripture and guru. Brahminical culture, a class of people to lead the society who are living according to God's way, culture, they have knowledge, they have vision, they have the qualities of those who can lead by example. In other words, they exhibit spiritual and good material qualities. Brahminical culture, and the last one is cows. How important cows are. It's amazing. If you do a little investigation, so I'm not sure many of you know, having some experience, just how wonderful the cow is. I was giving this lecture maybe about a month ago, and I think it was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then one gentleman in the audience, he said, you know, in India, in some places, the cow becomes the actual member of the family. And when someone gets sick in the family, someone in the family will go over to the cow and whisper in their ear that this person is sick. The cow will go and find a particular herb that is the cure for that disease that the person has, and eat that herb. And then she will give that milk, and the milk is given to that person as the medicine. It's amazing. And he was talking from experience, not just from what he had heard after living in India. And then I made that statement again in another class. Somebody had said, no, Maharaj, actually it's even different than that. The cow doesn't even have to be told. He knows that this person is sick in the family, and automatically she'll go over and eat that herb. Cows are amazing. They're the foundation for the economic development. So we have cars instead of cows. Of course, this is the way we live, and this is the required necessity. But Prabhupada could see the gradual withdrawal and the rotation, or you might say, the deterioration of Western society. So he said, build these farms. He says, these are the future movement, the future of the world. And so he wanted for every temple. It's not that we stop the temples or even stop city activity. He said for every particular temple we should have a farm community aligned with that temple. And we can get all of our food and supply all of our temples, make nice prasadam and distribute it, open restaurants. People will get very first class, prasadam from that. So Prabhupada wanted that, and he saw that the Western civilization was gradually diminished. In 1973, I don't want to sound too much like a false prophet or even but Prabhupada said in 1973, he said, in 50 years, this Western civilization will be finished. That's an exact quote. And he said, because it's based on what? Money. He said, because money is the foundation for everything. He said, you got money, you can do things, you got money, you can go places. If you've got money, you can cover all your mistakes. Money is everything, but that is not civilization. We know what civilization is, devotees. It's relationships with others, living entities such as devotees, and ultimately our relationship with others, with God, with the Supreme Personality, which is the foundation for human development and human culture, along with the process of going back home, back to God. So, Prabhupada was somewhat of a visionary, not just a very powerful spiritual master. He could see gradually that in due course of time, we would be having to move into that direction. So he said, no, don't wait, develop these farm communities. And not everybody could live on the farm, that's right, it's just like that. When I was I stayed on Vrindavan, I was in there in 1973, I came to Vrindavan, I stayed there to 1993, I was there 20 years. And then I left. And one of the last things they said to me is they said, Candramauli, you're a city devotee. After 20 years on the farm, I found out my identity, at least on the social level. I kind of thought that was nice because I wasn't completely aware of it. But I did my best, and I learned a lot, and I also saw the beauty of that type of lifestyle. And I could also see how important it was to establish that as a way of livelihood for most of our devotees. And Prabhupada said the farms are for the greenhouses mostly. Those who have families to raise children, the environment, self-sufficiency, not having to go and work for the society and then somehow or other spend so much time. He said, whatever you grow on your own farms is 100 times more nutritious than what you buy in the stores. What do? We go and we earn money and we buy food. So we do it in a roundabout way. But then again, the quality of what we get is not the same as what we could actually develop. So I just put together a little book. It's available on the back table. It's called Krishna's Way, Natural Living. And I try to illustrate Srila Prabhupada's mission because he was very strong about that. He said to develop these farms. He said, this is the future of our movement, this is the future of the world. He said, society will not be able to sustain itself. And he said, why should we become dependent? And he said, the more you become Krishna conscious, the more Krishna will supply whatever you need. That's even true in this particular society we live in. As we become Krishna conscious, Krishna takes care of his devotees. But Prabhupada understood, as far as a lifestyle is concerned, which is supportive of our spiritual practice, he saw that living the way Krishna lived, more simply, growing food, taking care of cows, just like cows. They say Lakshmi Devi, the supreme goddess of fortune, exists within cow dung. Cow dung is, in one sense, in another way, to honor Lakshmi Devi. The cow is so amazing. It's God's special gift to society. And we can see, Krishna's planet is called what? Goloka. Not Go New York, or something like that. It's Goloka. It's the planet of the cows. How dear the cows are. But Krishna knows how beneficial the cows are to human culture, human development, and human prosperity. And so, in the cow dung itself, all medicinal qualities are there. And people in India, of course, they take the paddy, they mix it with paddy, take it, dry it out, and they cook with it. And Prabhupada said, cooking with cow dung, first class. Cooking with wood, second class. When I was in New Vrindavan, I was a cook. I'm not a good cook, but I was a cook. I got criticized for my lack of knowledge, you might say. And I was cooking with wood. It was nice. It was really nice. And he went on to say third class is gas and fourth class is electricity. I was just recently in Farmington Hills, Detroit area. And one lady, she was told by a doctor that don't cook on your electrical stove because if you're sick, it'll make you more sick. She was sick, and that the doctor was restricting her from that type of cooking because of electricity. It's not really healthy in general. So we live in a very unhealthy environment. There's no question about that. We don't have to go through all of that. And so health is the foundation by which we can, fulfill our desires in becoming Krishna conscious. And so cow dung is really, and you can take cow dung, you can process it, they have a machine, and you can make methane gas, you can heat your homes, and you can also use it for other forms of, for energy also. So cow provides everything. Cow walks on the fields automatically. If it does in a certain type of area where it's cultivated, that field becomes, say, ready for crops. So maybe some of you have experiences with cows and you know how wonderful they are. But they are the foundation for a human culture, human society. So that's the unfinished part of Srila Prabhupada's mission, is to establish these farms, give people on the devotees a chance to live in that environment, healthy, and have more time for practicing Krishna consciousness and not be so much overly dependent on the external world for whatever we need. Clay, this is a big subject, and we can talk about it forever, but I think we're probably short on time. Anyone would like to add anything, or a question, any questions, comments, criticisms? Yes, Bruce.
I mean, I only got like one comment, man. You just remind me about growing up in Florida or whatnot, and there was a cow field or whatnot. And then when you think about the cow dung, I don't know, for some reason, like early in the morning going to school, smelling that, like, I don't know, it just reminds me of that, Like everybody on the bus would be like, ah, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, I was just breathing in, I'm like, early in the morning,
You were devoting. They couldn't understand. Thank you, yeah. The smell of cow dung is quite perfumey for those who have that sense. Anything else? Anyone else would like to comment? Yeah.
Two things.
Yeah,
Thank you. One is you mentioned grow your own food, make your own cloth, learn herbs. What was the fourth thing?
Building your own houses. Taking felled trees or dead trees, and then ultimately, just like the Amish, they do it also. They build their own houses, they build their own barns and stuff like that. I mean, they can build a house in one day, they can build a barn in 3 days. If you learn, you can build your own house very quickly. It's not hard.
The other thing was, are there any ISKCON farms that are self-sufficient?
There's some that are moving in that direction. For instance, Candramauli is trying to go in that direction, but they're still somewhat dependent on the external environment. New Raja down in Hungary is moving. They have more than 45 different types of vegetables they grow, along with over 20 different fruit trees. And they also can a lot of it for the winter. They have a whole system of keeping it throughout the winter. And when it's actually in place in a working way, you don't have to work, or you just 4 or 5 months a year, you do all of your cultivation. The rest of the year, you work on whatever you produce all year. And then in those 4 months. Yeah, and you write it down also. There's other places. Devotees are doing it in a smaller type of groups. 2 or 3 families are getting together and doing farms. Our Columbus, Ohio temple now is coming up, and they want to do that whole system of cows and lamb and cotton. So it's becoming more and more understandable. It's actually the need of the time to become less. And I mean, I could go on all day and just show you how the deterioration of Western society is really coming fast right now. I know, but I don't want to bore you with all these statistics. So, the things are going down fast, there's no question. Prabhupada understood that, and therefore he said, we will have to build these farms in order for us, for our movement to continue. Thank you. Brother Bhakti?
How can we understand our natures or know what they are?
How can we understand our need for
What is our nature? Like you were talking about acting according to one's nature.
Well, we see that. We have certain proclivities and tendencies. And once it's expressed in the form of service, you can see whether that you're inclined to that particular service or you're just doing it because you're asked to do it, or it becomes a necessity. Therefore, as Prabhupada said, we need this Ashram college. And the Brahmins, this was in 1974, you can listen to the lecture. On March 14, 1974, for 1 hour, he spoke to Ridananda Maharaj. Maharaj was asking questions, Prabhupada was giving the answers. And he said that collectively, the Brahmins should know all of the activities, and they can teach accordingly. They can also teach how to manage, how to fight, how to raise children. In other words, whatever is needed as a society should be learned by the Brahmins and taught. Not that every Brahmin has all of the knowledge, but collectively they have that knowledge. And then a college which will systematically teach these things, and by evaluation through the education system, then we can designate people accordingly. And that's the purpose of Gurukul also, is to see what are the qualities of different children, and then see how to engage them nicely so they can find happiness in the engagement and also fulfillment as a service. Yeah, so that was Prabhupada's idea of education in Ashram college. But we're doing it right now, but in a very, what we say, unorganized way. Devotees, there are devotees who are doing brahminical service, and devotees who are doing Kshatriya service, others are doing, but it's not organized. It's just going on like. Yes, there was another question. I saw a couple of more hands. Yes.
Where can we learn more about how to be more self-sufficient in terms of cooking on wood and different things like that?
What does it mean to be more self-sufficient?
Where can we learn how to?
Well, you can go to the farms, devotee farms, and see how it's being done. And then from there you can get a practical understanding of seeing how the devotees work to develop it. I mean, it's being done in some of our farms. And also, the secular society is way ahead of us in doing this. Many groups within today's society are actually pulling out and starting farms themselves. And you can learn from them also. The only problem is they don't have the spiritual foundation, which is very important in order to keep things together. Without the spiritual foundation, then Material means variety, means personal interest, means hard to keep unity together. But they also have the understanding as far as the skills that they know the skills other people. Many of them do. So it's available, you just have to do a little searching around. Thank you. Yes, Bonnie?
I was wondering, had mentioned anything about like what he wanted for the future for his disciples as they got older. And so many people are not allowed to live in temples once they become a certain age. And also if they don't have a family, you know, if they've lived many of them have lived in temples, or if they, you know, like,
It's
did it outline any
it's a
plan?
duty, it's a duty as a society to take care of old people. Or those who cannot, do what they used to do. They need a place where they can do something, but at the same time, not have to be so mobile. It's our duty. It says if we don't give protection to these 5 classes of people, children, old people, women, cows, and Brahmins, then there is an offense. And that offense causes a reaction. So society as a whole, if you talk about a holistic society, is required to take care of these 5 people and make sure they have everything they need to live, and also to worship. But that has to be a program, a policy, how to take care of, how to make sure those who are elderly and still have an opportunity to do service according to their level of ability. Or if they want, just some place to be, where they can be associated with devotees. And I was just talking to my god sister yesterday at the Rathi Ashram. She's, was in her 70s, pretty much by herself. She doesn't have a lot of support. She gets association every once in a while, and she has to go for it and rarely get it. So when the environment is supportive, and that's what Prabhupada wanted with these farm communities, that people live together and support each other in Krishna consciousness. The Western society is a nuclear family, where everybody has there's mother, father, children in one little place called your house or your apartment. And you struggle to somehow take care of whatever you need to do. When you have community is supportive. That's the idea, especially a Krishna conscious community where devotees always love to serve other devotees. It's just natural. The karmis will do that, but they'll always look for some material benefit from that. Devotees are happy just to do it as a service. Okay, so God is waiting. So thank you very much for your time and attention.
His Holiness Candramauli Maharaj Ki Jai. If everyone can please move the mats.
We have some books in the back for those of you who are interested.
Please everyone move the mats and come forward so we can all dance in kirtan together.
Jai Shri Sivananda Ki Jai. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. His confounder Acharya is Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Swayam Vishnupad Paramahans Parivajak Acharya. Astottara Satta Sri Sriman. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Ki Ananta Goti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Sri Rup Sanatan Bhakti Raghunath Shijiva Gopal Bhatt Das Raghunath Sar Goswami Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shamakund, Radhakund, Giri Govardhan Ki, Vrindavan Dham Ki, Mayapur Dham Ki, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Angamai Ki, Jamunamai Ki, Tulasi Devi Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Sri Sri Radha Melodar Ki, Sri Sri Radha Govinda Ji Ki, Sri Sri Gauranatai Ki, Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Sri Sri Bhakti Center Ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, glories to the assembled devotees, glories to Shri Guru and Shri Lanka, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Dola dola
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much again for coming in another big Hari Bol to His Holiness Candramauli Maharaj. Everyone would love for Maharaj to come back and spend more time here at Bhakti Center and give him more of our association. Please say Hari Bol! Right. So we have some announcements. Like Maharaj said about his class, his book, we have some copies for sale in the back. If anyone is interested, Balakrishna will be at a book table in the back, so please go and get your copy. And also tonight at the Brooklyn Temple, there is going to be a huge Kirtan festival, and that starts at 12 p.m. and it says it goes till 10 p.m., but I know for a fact it goes much later than that. So please go and stay very late and be absorbed in Kirtan. And we have some upcoming special programs here at Bhakti Center. This program, Bhagavata, Sravana, happens every Sunday. Please come. It's our weekly program for all of you all. And we have amazing speakers lined up every week. Next week will be Hansarupa Prabhu, the Temple of the Brooklyn, the president of the Brooklyn Temple. He'll be speaking next Sunday. And this coming Monday, tomorrow, June 12th, Vaisheshika Prabhu will be giving an in-person Srimad Bhagavatam class in the morning from 7:15 to 8 a.m. here, if anyone would like to come. And we have Jai Shri Radha Mulidai, Shri Gaura Chandra Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, a few more announcements. If you're interested in getting more involved at Bhakti Center, please go to our website and click on volunteer. There's many different opportunities to volunteer, to do seva at Bhakti Center, and we would love to have you be involved. We also have, in case you don't know, because I know there's a lot of visiting people here today, every Tuesday we have a program with Yogeshwar, who is an amazing Prabhupada disciple, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. And then we have Kirtan from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Every Thursday we have Kirtan from 7 to 9 p.m. And every Saturday we have a program for new people called Soul Talks, which is an introductory philosophy talk, followed by Kirtan, followed by dinner, and that's from 5:30 to 7. We also have a poetry reading with an amazing devotee Jayanta Prabhu coming up on June 25th from 2 to 3:30 p.m. after the lunch from this program. We have a community japa, not so coming up, but I guess, it'll be here soon enough. August 5th from 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. We're going to be doing japa all day here at Bhakti Center. It's come and go as you please. You can stay for the whole time, chant 64 rounds, or you can come and go. And we'll also be serving a beautiful lunch that day, cooked by a beautiful community member. And if you want to get on this temple newsletter, which is what I'm reading from, which is a weekly email, please go to bhakticenter.org, scroll down to the bottom, and click on Join Our Temple Newsletter, and that's how you can get these updates. Or if you wanted to be added to the WhatsApp group, which is kind of like a weekly post of this is happening, then you can see me, and I can add you to that. And also this Wednesday, which is June 14th, Chandramauli Maharaj was originally scheduled to speak because he has to leave us on Wednesday. We're going to be having Jayadvaita Maharaj speak. We have a Prabhupada meditation program at 26 2nd Avenue, right around the corner, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. And Jayadvaita Maharaj will be there in person giving the talk, so it'll be really special. So please come for that. That's all my announcements. That's this Wednesday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. And we have a beautiful feast served, lunch feast served for you in the back. Please stay, make a donation if you can. You can do that in the back, and stay, make a friend, have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy Rath Yatra weekend. Hare Krishna.